The question still has to be posed. Does our collective fear warrant the facts that we have, whether it's regarding school or really any of it? Any of it.
We are dealing with an education thing where kids are maybe getting to go back to school, kind of going back. Some colleges are doing distance learning only, all this kind of stuff. Where's education headed?
Boy, that's a good one.
In your certain tone.
Let me tell you how it is, Laurie. A, I don't know. B, I think the biggest wake-up call is actually going to be in the universities, because I think the cost of college, as we've discussed before, is so completely and egregiously out of control, no one really disagrees with it anymore.
Right.
Now what we're seeing is what you're actually paying for. So in institutions like Harvard, that with a $28 billion endowment, don't refund the money to the last bunch of kids who signed up for classes that were canceled. They don't refund the money because now they're sitting at home learning from a screen. Well, what that says to me is the experience of coming here is worth no more than the experience of sitting home. And while that's kind of chilling if you're going to Harvard, it's kind of instructive, I think, if we're really going to step back and seriously think about other different ways to learn. Not as a result of COVID. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way it was. I do think this will pass, and I do think a lot of things like education and commercial real estate and all these things will, revert to a degree. But I think we've seen efficiencies of scale in a lot of areas that nobody anticipated, and we're still weighing and measuring that. I talked to a guy the other day, a big shot over at a recruiting firm called Korn Ferry. Been around for years. They have thousands of employees all over the world. They have a few floors in the MetLife building. MetLife building has 8,000 people in it in New York, normally. They've had 500 people in it.
Oh, come on.
For the last 6 months. A lot of companies, and I'm not saying the Korn Ferry's made this decision, I don't know, but they're looking at it. Every single company that I know of who's taken down major commercial real estate space is going, we either need it or we don't, or we need some of it, right? My own little company, I only have 8 people in my world, but they've all done really well over the last 6, 7 months working from home. And so what are we going to do? Well, we'll go back, but 5 days a week, maybe 3, maybe 2, I don't know. And that's going to change things. How much money are we going to save on energy? People not driving to work the way they used to. Flights not happening the way they used to. What's it going to do to those industries? What's it going to do to the energy industry? It's all beyond my pay grade. But if I were to sound as certain as I could, Laurie, I would say, we're all going to be just fine.
Yes. This too shall pass.
It's 2021. I've been elected President of the United States. You're now my Secretary for Education. And
Yeah, you're out.
And I need you to make some policy decisions right now. The COVID crisis is a risk, but it has proven out to be less of a risk than we all initially thought. I think the science is proving that out. I don't want to be definitive about anything either in regard to that, but I need you to make definitive decisions right now on the relationship between this isolation that people are feeling, mental depressions, suicidal tendencies, and the fact that life needs to get back. How do you risk that mitigation between, these two factors that you have playing out right now in the headlines?
How'd you get elected president?
That's what I want to know. Whose bright idea was that?
Yeah.
I mean, wow, congratulations.
Thanks.
And I actually accepted the role.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not suicidal tendencies. It's suicide.
Got it.
It's up over 100% everywhere. It's up over 1,000%, the calls to the hotlines. In fact, a week or two ago, I read that the causes of death among young people in school have all outpaced COVID.
Yeah.
All these things. Giant list of unintended consequences. I understand that because we're connected the way we are, the downside of that, the infection rates. We can wind up in a multi-generational home getting someone sick. But it doesn't change the basic truth. This economy in this country won't work if our kids aren't in school. We just have to figure it out. And if that means daily testing, whatever it means, we have to do that. Because half of our nurses have kids in school. Our whole healthcare industry is based on humans' ability to tend to sick humans, and they can't do that if they're home with their kids. So we have to get back to school, period, the end. And then we have to figure out a way to be as safe as possible. And even as your Secretary of Education, I'm afraid I don't know precisely how to do it. But we can't do this. You know, I don't have to be an expert on fire to know that sitting on a hot stove, you know, I don't need to understand the science between convection, right? I can see what's happening with the schools and say this can't work, and then you get back into the conversation of we have to be cautious, but we also need context and we need perspective. So does our collective measure of fear, is that commensurate with the actual risk at hand? And I don't know the answer to that either, but I know the question has to be asked. And if I look back at the beginning of this, knowing what we know now, imagine if an authority figure had come out, a doctor, a politician, and a trusted journalist, all three of them all together, and said, here's what we know. 6 million people are going to get it, and 180,000 are going to die. That's what we know. We got a crystal ball and we look forward from March until today, early in September. Okay, 6 million cases out of 300 million people. What is that? Well, if it were 100 million, it'd be 6%. If it were 200 million, it'd be 300 million. So 1.5% of people are going to get it. And then 94% of those people who get it, 94% who die, are going to be afflicted with something else. Obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, age. They're going to be weakened. That means 6%. Currently, 9,210 people are going to die of COVID-19 and nothing else. Had that been laid out at the very beginning, I don't know what we would have done, but I'm pretty sure we would not have locked down. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have treated every town like a hotspot, and I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have treated every person like an infected carrier. But we did. And so I'm not gainsaying any decisions. You know, this is me Monday morning quarterbacking as your fake Secretary of Education or whatever I am. But when I look back at what we know now, the question still has to be posed. Does our collective fear warrant the facts that we have, whether it's regarding school or really any of it? Any of it. And when you think about the fact that 1.5 million people died of TB over the same period, I think reasonable people, again, reasonable people can look at all of that and make their own conclusions. So in this void of certainty, as people sound certain, you know, I think we're all back on the Here Be Dragons part of the map. We'll sort it out, but we're in the process of doing it right now, and we're not there.
At TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
Without you, we couldn't do it. God bless you.